Hey, everybody. Welcome to Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. I am one of your hosts, Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
It's good to see you, buddy.
I know. It's great to be here.
We have a lot of business to get to today, don't we?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. We're here to talk about... Now, let's see. It's been a few weeks since we've had an album-specific episode.
Yes.
Yeah, at this point, our listeners have heard us talk general Radiohead with Brad Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
Great episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they've heard Idiobat return and come back. And I wonder if our listeners at this point are like, oh, are they avoiding talking about this next album? What do you think?
I wonder if I'm avoiding it a little bit.
Do you think you have been?
It's a big one. It's a big one to break open.
Yeah. Is this, we haven't even said what album we're talking about yet, but is this Radiohead's longest album?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of time. Yeah, it's 56 minutes and 35 seconds long.
35 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know some of those extra seconds aren't even music.
That's true.
There's a little bit of chitter chatter on this album, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Eventually.
I would say we're not avoiding it because we don't want to talk about this album, but more that Radiohead have, by my last count, they have 9 studio albums. Am I correct in that count?
Yes.
And we are already at episode, I think this is episode 14.
Yeah.
If I'm right. So what does that mean, Zach? That means that we are not just doing one episode per album and that's the podcast.
Yeah. Some of them just require a lot more time spent, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that it's like, hey, I'm already in this project. I'm already like seeing the end of that discography ahead of me and going, oh no.
Yeah.
Radiohead put out another album.
I know.
But the point is that we're finding a lot of other Radiohead specific and Radiohead adjacent things to talk about. We're going to get to every album, listeners.
Yeah.
But, we're taking our time a little bit.
And plus Ed's solo album, plus Phil has a solo album as well. I actually listened to some of it. It's really good.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, Phil is a more...
Is it vocal music? Is it
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Phil is a more dynamic musician than, not that I gave him credit for, than you would think, but I do think drummers... It's do you ever have that where you get surprised when you see a drummer with a different instrument in a way that I don't with... Like, when Tom's at the keys, for instance, I don't feel any sort of surprise. But when I see Phil with a guitar,
right?
Phil Selway, not Phil Collins.
Sure.
There's just a little bit of like, oh, that doesn't. I think drummers are just so specific.
Even after Radiohead made a point to tell you that anyone can play guitar,
I know, right? Literally,
you think, but not Phil.
No.
I do get surprised when I see drummers playing other stuff. I think it's a little bit of guitar player bias.
Yeah.
Where I unfairly assume people who play strings are more versatile than drummers. But really, honestly, if you are a drummer, that means you know how to play music with your hands and feet. I shouldn't be that surprised that you can pick up a guitar.
But it is. Do you ever have it though when you sit down at a drum set and the level of like physical kinesthetic involvement that is required is so much more than a guitar or any other instrument, and are like, whoa.
Yeah. Drums are hard.
Drums are really hard.
Yeah.
Anyways.
There's a lot of there's solo stuff to discuss, and we haven't made plans to discuss Phil's solo work yet, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? I know that we are going to be discussing the solo work of one of the members of Radiohead.
Yes.
And I don't want to say who it is, but people can guess.
Yes.
But what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that today we are discussing a studio album. We're discussing 2003's Hail to the Thief, Radiohead's 6th studio album. We're 6 albums deep now. And this is... I think fair to say a somewhat divisive record among Radiohead fans, among the band themselves. And I'm really, really excited. Zach and I have done a really good job of, I know what some of our past opinions about this album have been. And listeners, you hear me and Zach, and we get on this mic and we laugh at each other's jokes, and it's a mutual admiration society. There's a lot of agreement about how much we love Radiohead. But this record has been a point of contention between your hosts before in the past.
Yeah.
So I really hope that whatever conversation we have doesn't tear us apart and we have to end the podcast. Hopefully this is not the last episode of the podcast, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, there have been bigger gaps to bridge, I would say, like our Casino and Goodfellas gap. I think that may have been a bigger bridge to overcome than this one. We'll just have to see.
My reactions to them were very similar, I feel, but I feel like that is going to be relevant to the discussion at some point. But let's start to get into Hail to the Thief.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about. Should we talk the background of the album a little bit first?
Yeah, let's talk background a little bit. So as you mentioned, June 9th, 2003, pretty critical year globally. You know, the war on terror is, in full throttle. And as we get into some of the tracks, we could probably talk lyrically how we think that Radiohead is sort of, absorbing that and some of the frustration and anger. You know, we've talked a lot about Radiohead's political activism, and that came up quite a bit in previous albums, definitely on Amnesiac and on Kid A as well. But just sort of like brass tacks locationally, what is interesting about this one is this album was produced in partnership with longtime collaborator Nigel Godrich. And it was also
they got Nigel for this one.
Well, yeah, and it was also co-produced by the band, as have all of their albums, right? Nigel starting full-time on OK Computer, but Radiohead is listed as a co-producer on all of their albums, and it was recorded at Ocean Way Recording in Hollywood, California. The band did return eventually to Didcot, their Canned Applause, which is Radiohead's studio, to finish recording and final mixing. But this was a major departure from Kid A and Amnesiac as far as spending so much time in sunny California to record it. And they recorded this album really quickly from September 2002 to February 2003. And when you think about a 56-minute album with 14 tracks, that's very quick. And they focused on recording.
And the majority of that was done in the span of about 4 weeks.
Correct.
Of the tracking.
Yeah. And they focused on recording a lot of live takes with minimal overdubs. This was employing a live and spontaneous approach to certainly to the vocals. I don't hear a ton of spontaneity in Radiohead generally, but this is what's written and from the band themselves. Like you said, it's divisive between the band members, so you will see accounts differ slightly on that, but that is the sort of overall take. And I was talking about the production, and although Radiohead co-produced their previous albums, I wonder if they needed more freedom from Nigel for better or worse on this album, because like I was mentioning in the Hollywood sections of when they recorded it, he did not travel and produce with the band when they were recording in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how the band's relationship to Nigel works. I don't know. Like we've talked about, what's so cool is that it's really hard to sow discord. I'm not at all implying that there was like some sort of fight or Nigel is cramping our style or anything like that. But I do think that, and we'll talk about it as we listen to the tracks, that you hear certainly a little bit of a difference in production. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
I strongly agree. And I think that where that stands out to us specifically, we'll get into as we listen to the album, but I think the thing to emphasize here as listeners are going through these tracks with us is what you said, that this was a minimal overdub live record. And actually my notes say according to interviews I read and listened to with the band and also some stuff I read on Wikipedia, they actually did the bulk of these recording sessions in 2 weeks. Okay. Your dates of production still stand, but they recorded the bulk of the tracks in 2 weeks in LA, and they set out a goal to do a song a day, which they more or less stuck to. And
also, that's nuts.
It is really nuts. And it also seems to me that there was a not explicitly stated, but still very clear desire for this process to be nothing like Kid A and Amnesiac.
Sure.
That they really, really, really wore themselves out with the way they worked on those albums. And that it was not a super fun process. And I kind of get the impression that this is Radiohead wanting to have fun in the studio.
Yeah.
I don't think of them as a band necessarily that like has a ton of fun, but these guys are rock and roll musicians who do like playing. And, you know, a lot of these songs were written live in 2002, not written live, but rehearsed only a little bit, then taken on the road, and then right into the studio.
And I do think that you hear some level of spontaneity certainly in Tom York's vocal performance. In some of the slower piano tracks, I do think you also hear some spontaneity, but definitely in Tom York singing, you know, like I think you hear a lot of, and I don't want to, I want to get into that as we go track by track, but that's sort of where I really hear that, because it is difficult for me to imagine, even on the songs that feel like a little bit of a jam, it's so hard for me to imagine that being, you know, to what degree of spontaneous that is, right? And I think that's just because I'm not a professional musician.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because even like the kind of blips and bloops on this album were mostly played live in the studio.
Yeah.
So even the things that sound a little bit like Radiohead studio trickery, which is really impressive because it just shows like what command they did have over their more complex and different sounds.
Yeah. And so talking about the background, last little part on it being recorded in Hollywood, California, the cover of this album, designed by Stanley Donwood and Tom York, and also as you open it up and look at the continuation of the artwork, is of Hollywood, California, from like a topographical shot and then drawn. The front of the album is its own thing that I think we'll talk about maybe more in depth later. But the next part of sort of the lore around Hail to the Thief, remember we said this came out in 2003, was on March 30th, 2003, Hail to the Thief was leaked online. And this is 10 weeks before the intended release date of, like we said, June 9th, right? So EMI opted not to move up the release date because much of what was leaked had been recorded in January of 2003 and was therefore unfinished and not representative of the studio cut. So that was a bold move. And in classic Radiohead fashion, you're talking 19 years ago, the quotes from the band as far as their frustration with this, I think age really well. So Johnny Greenwood said, hey, listen, I'm not frustrated at our listeners downloading and wanting to hear what we produced. I am frustrated at the response by EMI, which was they threatened quite a few lawsuits to any radio station that played these unfinished cuts ahead of release date. And I think I saw a quote from Colin that said, I don't understand it. You know, they want thousands of dollars, you know, in royalties anytime you play a song. And yet now they're suing people for playing it ahead of time. So this, you know, going into the next album that came out a full 4 years later, I think is just sort of building the frustration that Radio had with EMI. This was their last studio album that they had contractually obligated to produce under EMI. So, you know, we're not going to go into In Rainbows too much, but I did think that was an interesting trivia. Were you aware of the internet leak?
Yes,
okay.
I was. And like, it definitely seems to inform choices that we will get into when we cover the next studio album that they make. But people who are fans of the band know that they take a very different approach to how they release their next album, In Rainbows. Sounds like they'd finally had enough of the old head of EMI. We're going to sue the bloody pants off all these fucking radio stations.
I know it is. I mean, well, and the reason why I mentioned why it ages so well is you know, you look at footage or read about the lawsuits from Metallica, led by drummer Lars Ulrich. And it just kind of makes you cringe. And Metallica is a band I love. Despite that, I do get where they were coming from. It was uncharted territory as far as how does a band make money. You know, in this age of streaming and illegal downloading, the problem has not been solved by the streamers. You maybe for bands like Radiohead, Metallica, they're still living comfortably, I would say, but it is not. That's another topic for another day. But yeah, I mean, you watch Lars basically giving like a testimony before Congress, and there were a lot of Metallica fans like burning their records, which is not something I would have ever participated in. But it's like, hey, I get it. Like they had sustained longevity for decades, and it's like you don't really want to hear Lars railing the way he was. And with Radiohead, they certainly did have opinions, but I like that they were sort of against the man and not against their audience. Radiohead are not perfect. They're fallible. They're made up of people, but I really do like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other big thing that jumped out at me about the kind of conception and background of this album was the specified ambition of the band to not make a big creative leap or statement with this one, which again feels a little bit like they are consciously trying to do an anti-Kid A. And I don't mean anti in terms of that they weren't proud of that music, but it almost feels to me like Radiohead are managing the expectations of their public.
Totally.
Of just like, hey, we kind of killed ourselves doing those last two records, and we want to make music without having to do that every single time. This is Walker's conjecture, but that's kind of the feeling I got. Not that privately they're not still trying to make the best record that they can make, but they just don't want people to think that they are going to completely redefine themselves every time.
No, they're like redefining themselves by being like, hey, we still can play guitars. And we talked a lot about, or I talked a lot about, like how much I find the touring of Kid A and Amnesiac to be this sort of like additional thing on its own, because those songs are quite sped up and guitar driven and all that. So I do think that probably within the band, there may have been a desire to return to like, playing guitars, and there's still expanded instrumentation, of course, on Hail to the Thief, but I wonder if some of this return to form was to remind their audience of their musical identity as it started, even though it had obviously grown substantially in sophistication, and also to do something that did not require spinning as many plates in the air, or what have you.
Right.
I'm not sure about that, though.
In many ways, this record is a back to basics approach,
which is hilarious because you think about Radiohead fans that started with the band 10 years earlier on Pablo Honey, right? They're treated their first album they immediately liked since the Bends, right? Because the Bends is a sophistication increase, but it's still guitars, bass, drum, you know what I'm saying?
It's still a radio rock record in many ways.
Exactly. So you listen to Hail to the Thief, and it's like, oh, okay, back to basics, and then you start with track 1, and I do think that a lot of Radiohead fans immediately liked this album, but you compare it back against those first two albums, and as we'll get into each track, especially that first one, it is not a normal rock song by any means.
I'd like to get into kind of our personal histories with this record, and then start playing tracks. I would like to say, just off of kind of you mentioning the other records, something that we haven't done a lot of. This album for me has, during preparing for this episode, I've spent a great deal of time contextualizing my feelings about this album within Radiohead's overall canon. And so I would like to, at the end of the episode, talk about how I would rank this out of the albums that we've listened to so far.
Finally, yes. Okay, I've been wanting you to do that so bad.
Oh, great. Zach, now I know that you have had very strong feelings about this Radiohead album over the years. What is kind of your personal connection or history with this album?
Well, for many years, leading up to this podcast and during, I've always thought Hail to the Thief was my favorite Radiohead album. My kind of the way I would summarize that is that it picks and pulls from the best type of Radiohead, which, if you had to split it in two, would be Pablo Honey through OK Computer, and then Kid A and Amnesiac, which is kind of funny to break it up that much, because like like we talked about, OK Computer is so superior, but let's just simplify it. And I have always thought, like, you know, it picks and pulls from both. It has these electronic moments, it has piano kind of based songs, but it really is like a rock record. You know, I wasn't alone in that opinion. There's, you know, we talked about our interview with Brad Osborne. He mentioned that it had been his favorite for a long time. You know, you go on Reddit or wherever, there's like literally hundreds of posts of like, hot take, Hail the Thief is Radiohead's best album. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's not that out of a take.
You know what I've noticed is that, and this episode is going to have a lot of Hail to the Thief hot takes, or HTTTHTs as we have come to call them.
Yep.
But I have started to like think, every like opinion about Hail to the Thief that I have that I think is going to be controversial among Radiohead fans is made 50 times a day on Reddit. And my main takeaway about how fans feel about this album is everyone kind of thinks the specific way they would change Hail to the Thief or what they love about it is unique to them.
Totally.
Because no two Radiohead fans seem to feel exactly the same about this album.
Yeah.
And I feel like Kid A and In Rainbows in particular are ones that I kind of only see you get universal acclaim among Radiohead fans. Hail to the Thief and OK Computer kind of are the ones that I see people nitpicking a lot about, either that I appreciate this album more than other Radiohead fans do, or I'm the one who figured out that this album isn't as good as Radiohead fans think.
Yes. So, you know, so it has always been very high in my esteem. Here's like a hotter take, though, that I'm sure this is on Reddit too, but maybe with a little bit less frequency. Hail the Thief, I believe, is Radiohead's most influenced album. And as influenced, yeah. And as we go through the tracks, you know, maybe we can kind of call upon, you know, you can wink at me and say, okay, Zach, say. No, but I mean, I think that it's not every single song. But I do think, you know, of a 14-track album, there's at least 5 to 7 songs where I'm like, I think Radiohead sounds like this band. And I don't really feel that way about Amnesiac, Kid A, or In Rainbows, right? So going backward and forward. And music does not exist in a vacuum, you know, like, but I think that's important to call out because Radiohead are very quiet about their influences, right? You know, we've talked about David Byrne. You've pointed out that like some of the lyrical approach sounds like Brian Wilson. And then obviously Johnny Greenwood and Tom York, you know, the stuff that they will say like, oh, this was an influence is very obscure, right? So yeah, I think that, you know, this album sounds like the absolute best imitation of a Radiohead album made by Radiohead. And not just sonically, instrumentation wise, but even lyrically as well. And like I said, as we go through the tracks, you know, when I think there's a little bit of similarity from Radiohead to other artists, I'll call upon those. But that is sort of my take, is that I think this album sounds like an imitation of a Radiohead album made by Radiohead.
Interesting. I agree with that. I'm curious to hear what stands out to you as other bands' influences on this record. So, used to be your favorite Radiohead album, or has been your favorite Radiohead album, may or may not be at this point.
Right.
We'll discover that after we go through it.
Yeah. And so I was talking about how I think that at times this album, to me, seems like the best imitation of a Radiohead album done by Radiohead. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? And we'll talk more about that maybe at the end. But just to like hone in on a couple specific things, I think that the new style and approach feel a little bit more obligatory on this album instead of like as brave as it felt on Amnesiac and Kid A. So I cite those two albums specifically and not OK Computer because OK Computer feels like a band outgrowing not only their sound, but the entire genre of alternative rock. And it's a really, really positive, amazing result, right? Hail the Thief sounds and seems like a band that has outgrown Radiohead because their sound sounds a little stagnated at time by the fact that they seem to be like remixing their previous 3 albums in a way, right? And this sounds really negative, but it's not. I have a lot of positive things to say too. And I lay the blame of this stagnation not just at the feet of Tom and Johnny, but also at Nigel. And that kind of, what I mean by that is the mixing of this album is incredibly 2003. There's like a really specific emphasis on the bass on this album, and Colin's playing was and is always incredible, but his like John Paul Jones level melodies are usually buried a bit more in the mix, and they blend into the intricacies.
I can't believe what I'm hearing right now.
Okay. How's that?
This is a huge gripe that I have with this record, and I did not know that it was gonna come from you as well.
I mean, this is a more recent observation, right? So this isn't what has made it potentially lower in my esteem, but I maybe didn't have the technical vocabulary to put this into words before. So like I was saying, Colin's bass playing is amazing, and I would compare him to somebody like Paul McCartney or John Paul Jones, who are two of the most melodic bass. He's not Les Claypool, right? But like he has a Primus, but he has some of the most subtle, beautiful melodies, but they're interwoven, and I think that is a Nigel strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of what I was saying, where a lot of this was recorded absent Nigel, I don't know, I'm not even pretending that was Discord or anything like that, but I think that's what you get when you have somebody like Nigel Godrich present and accounted for. And I think that there's so few Radiohead albums that sound like stuck in their time.
Mm-hmm.
And Kid A and Amnesiac do not sound stuck in their time. They sound ahead of their time. Whereas everything about Hail to the Thief, not everything, some of the main components of it, the artwork, the political frustration, it does seem stuck in its time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's time for me to let you share some thoughts.
Sure. I mean, I'll keep it brief because a lot of the stuff you're bringing up is stuff that I want to talk about as we listen to the tracks. I'll say that my relationship to this album has been one where I don't know that I have truly done my due diligence on Hail to the Thief until this podcast. And that's something I'm really, really loving about this project is having to hyper focus on Radiohead albums that I have somewhat casually placed as lower.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, that's really what I'm talking about is the Bends, and now with this album, is that I sometimes, your take that Hail to the Thief was your favorite album always infuriated me. But I really started to like question that when we did that, because I was like, you know what, though? There's a compliment for you in here.
Okay.
Because I was like, you know what? Zach is, I think, enjoying Radiohead in a way that is freer from these like biases. Is that that I think that maybe I've absorbed from just like wanting to have the right opinions.
Yeah.
Like, if me and Zach agree that Radiohead is our favorite band and he's finding things to make this his favorite album, he must be looking at it in a deeper and more open-minded way than I have. And I mean this sincerely, because it's like, okay, if Kid A is my favorite, how much of that is me listening to it, having through osmosis been told this is the most important Radiohead album. This is the Radiohead album that smart people like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I really found when I dug deep into the Bends, an album that I already knew I liked, but it was like, oh, I like this way more than I thought I did. And so when I got super into Radiohead post In Rainbows and couldn't get enough of them, I think that my reaction to Hail to the Thief was I kind of knew that people considered it to be a lesser work compared to other post OK Computer albums. I think that affected how I listened to it when it didn't grab me right away. I don't think that I've ever gone back. I've obviously listened to this album many times over the years, but I really think that once my favorite few songs set in, I kind of just listened to those. And I don't know that
was like me with Kid A.
Fair enough, right? So it happens, and I don't know that until this podcast, I really was like, I'm going to, every time I put on Hail to the Thief, I'm going to listen to it all the way through with no skips, and I'm going to really, really try to remove my kind of calloused opinions that I have about it. And I will say that the result of that has been, first of all, we pushed this recording a few times. So I've been in Hail to the Thief land for a long time. I know this album backwards and forwards now. That's never been the case. There are moments of brilliance that never registered with me.
Oh man, that's exciting.
And yeah, there are things that at the beginning of listening to it over the last, let's say, 6 weeks in preparation for this episode, there were songs I dismissed that I now really like.
Wonderful.
And there are things that I didn't like when I first started listening that have become more infuriating to me over time of listening to it over and over. So that's kind of where I'm at with Hail to the Thief, and I'd love to get into the album if you think we're ready to.
I mean, I'm ready. I want to call back to one thing I said, though, real quick. It was probably on Kid A, that like the albums that are not at the tippy top are the ones that I may have had preconceived notions on. And I do think that Hail to the Thief, if In Rainbows is what got you super on fire for the band, it would be a little bit hard to go back and listen to Hail to the Thief, because I do think In Rainbows is a more fully realized and edited version in a way, right? And they're both completely separate albums and all of that, but I could totally understand struggling a bit more. And I'm to take it back to myself, I had no preconceived notions because you had shown me 2 tracks off In Rainbows, my interest was piqued, and then I went all the way back and went chronologically. So to build up to this, when my musical maturity and all of that was maybe a little bit lower, I'm not trying not to sound pompous here, I kind of get why it was always so high in my esteem, right?
Sure.
And so, yeah, that was like maybe my last point, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the fact that you have so much love for this album is something that I now admire instead of dismiss.
Well, thank you. That's great.
But like, I'll say this, and maybe this is maybe my first HTTTHT. I think this being someone's favorite Radiohead album is crazy.
Okay.
I will say that.
Yeah.
I think that this being someone's favorite Radiohead album is akin to George Harrison being your favorite Beatle. Not that George Harrison isn't great. The amount of Lennon-McCartney brilliance that you have to just push to the side to claim George Harrison as anywhere near as impactful of a songwriter and musician as those two. To me, it's just like, all this stuff is subjective. I don't know how you can love the other peaks of Radiohead and think that this measures up to other things that they've done creatively.
Dude, that is such a good comparison, though, because George, per his own admission, got frustrated himself for not being able to riff more when it came to guitar solos. George was not a mechanical guitar player at all, but in comparison to the looseness that you see in somebody like John Lennon, who was not as good of a guitar player. Right. This is all subjective, but it's not quantifiable. But certainly McCartney at the keys and on the guitar. And I think that that applies to Hail to the Thief in that it does feel a little bit mechanically assembled at times. So there is expanded use of instrumentation. The song forms, some of them are really, really unconventional, but they feel decided ahead of time, right? With the outset of the album, I just like the comparison to George. George was down on himself. I wish I could riff like Eric Clapton, but meanwhile he's George Harrison, right? And that's kind of how Hail to the Thief is like we might dig it here and there, but it's still a Radiohead album. High on its way up to the mountain of what the peak is. Absolutely. I want to be clear. Like, if this is your favorite album of 2003, I have no problem with that. If this is your favorite, like, you know what I mean? Like, if this is like your, well, I guess I don't have a bunch of other examples, but it's like George can be your favorite traveling Wilbury, but he can't be your favorite Beatle. And I know he can, by the way, listeners. No, I know he's lots of people's favorite Beatle. Sure. But, I'm just saying, you really mean Paul. You're confused. It's just, that's what I'm just like, Hail to the Thief being
the best Radiohead album to me is erasure of a bunch of their other albums. I'm not saying which one has to be your favorite. I'm just saying it needs to be one of 3.
Well, and I mean, it's like like Brad Osborne was talking about, and in no way did I aspire to have a similar arc as what I believe to be the foremost authority on Radiohead outside of the band and people maybe in the inner circle. But he did say...
more than us? At this point, don't you think we're in that rarefied air?
In terms of fanship, yes. But I think in terms of technical knowledge, and he probably has listened to Radiohead a bit more than us just due to the fact that he had to write a book.
And he does have a published book.
He does have a published book about that.
This podcast is self-published.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't even take it in at the time because I was a little bit starstruck when we were doing the interview. But listening to it back, I loved how he said, for the longest time it was Hail to the Thief, and then now it's just not the sing-along record. I'm not going to say my opinion mirrors that exactly, but I do think when it came into my consciousness when I was 19 to 20 years old, that was like a big step, and I wasn't doing it to pretend to be deep. Getting into Radiohead overall was something that I think really enhanced and increased my level of open-mindedness and experimentation and all of that. None of that was forced to please anybody. That was genuine and organic. And nor was Hail to the Thief being my favorite something to annoy Walker with, right? But I do think that it is a Radiohead album that is maybe a little bit possible to outgrow. And I do think the band has outgrown it, as evident by the fact that they play almost none of these songs live.
Okay.
And we are going into territory where we should have the music playing.
We should. Should we start the album?
Yeah, I'm super down.
Great. Let's do it. Now, one other thing I feel like we should talk about before we get into the tracks is that Zach and I very egotistically have privately among each other compared the arc of this podcast to the arc of the band's maturation. So it's like when we kind of got to our OK Computer episode, we're like, ooh, this is the one where we're truly comfortable.
Yeah.
And really, right? And then our Kid A episode, we were like, ooh, on this one, we're kind of redefining our whole thing and stuff. So, Zach, what should this episode be like if we're going to have our Hail to the Thief episode be our Hail to the Thief?
Well, I think we were a little bit lost in the intro. I think that we said some really good stuff, and it'll be interesting in editing if we edit nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that our episode with Brad Osborne was our I Might Be Wrong live album, if we're chronicling. But yeah, no, I mean, it was private amongst each other, but with absolute intentionality. Our opening episode was like, all right, there's some good stuff in here. Let's see what these boys do.
Yeah, we did that on purpose.
Absolutely.
We didn't want our first episode to be too good. We wanted it to have like kind of raw, untrained potential.
Yeah. We really redefined expectations and knocked everybody's socks off with Kid A and Amnesiac. And, now in Hail to the Thief. So this episode will be 4.5 hours long.
Yeah, it should be too long.
No, I mean that we're obviously being a little bit cheeky.
We'll put too much bass in our voices to mirror how Colin is mixed.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that just to be completely serious, I think that it is kind of funny that our podcast maturation grew with the maturation of somebody that was putting out actual original art, not just talking about shit other people made.
I think this podcast is almost as difficult to do as make a Kid A.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, we are mirroring the arc of the band. So, Radiohead listeners and podcast listeners, get ready for our King of Limbs episode to be absolutely baffling.
So Zach and I genuinely don't know like where our opinions differ on this album or what each of our kind of final verdicts are on how we ultimately feel about it. But I think that we both agree that if this episode is our Hail to the Thief, that there are going to be moments of transcendent brilliance.
Absolutely.
And moments where this episode gets really bogged down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
absolutely.
do it.
Let's hit it, boys.
So, starting the album, this album starts differently than any Radiohead album has started so far.
Right.
with some spoken word.
Mm-hmm.
We hear them talking.
Well, we hear them plug in.
We hear them plug in, and then we hear some talking. So let me make sure I've got the volume up correctly. So this is track 1 on Hail to the Thief. Starts with talking.
Mm-hmm.
2 + 2 = 5.
Which
I
it does
can't
not.
relax, you know? The other night I was in a place I felt like having a few drinks. Someone ordered a bartender. I said, surprise me. He showed me a naked picture of my wife. Tell you the truth,
So that's different. That's Tom sounds different.
I get no regards, huh? Simpsons.
Interesting for them to open this album with kind of an old school setup punch
I thought
joke.
we were past this. This is how you get me. As I go, surely the joke won't be repeated. Nice one, you got me.
All right, listeners, that was not Tom York.
No.
That was Rodney Dangerfield doing a great joke, I thought.
Yeah.
About how he gets no respect.
Yeah. So if somebody also famous for just riffing for hours with lots of brilliance.
That's right. Yeah, didn't write any of that stuff. Made it up as it goes. No, listeners, this is the beginning of Hail to the Thief. 2 + 2 = 5. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to pause it real quick.
Please.
That was the talking. Listeners, you might have missed it. But what does Tom say there, Zach?
You hear, we're live. And then he says, that's a nice way to start, Johnny.
With the dun dun dun.
As if to, yes, he's talking to Johnny Greenwood, not talking to an unspecific fan named Johnny. But I do feel like they are talking to their audience a little bit because, yes, it is talking, but it is clearly a chord being plugged into a guitar. As if to clue you in.
We're doing something different.
Yeah, you don't hear the boo-doo-doo of Packed Like Sardines, nor do you hear the boo-doo-doo-doo of everything in its right place.
This is that's an incredibly raw thing for them to include some studio chatter.
Yeah.
Now, I do want the reason I paused it, and listeners, we'll get through more music than but the reason I paused it is because I thought he said something different until preparing for this recording.
Like up till recently?
Up until, a few weeks ago.
What was it?
I thought he said, this is nice a way to start as any.
But
That's a nice way to start Johnny. Now, I love that it's to Johnny, that it's Tom saying that's a nice way to start Johnny. I also love that this is a little bit of that Tom York naughtiness that we have talked about, right? Because he's having a little bit of a cheeky poke at his mate Johnny, isn't he? I don't think
Johnny wasn't plugged in and ready to go or something like that.
Just, he's just being a little bit. It's a little bit sarcastic.
Yeah,
that's a nice way to start, Johnny. I don't know. I just like it. Tom Cruise. I feel like I've called him Tom Cruise like 500 times. Tom York, not somebody light on attitude.
No, not at all.
And I just thought it was
particularly not in this period. This album is full. So nice call there. This album is full of attitude.
You know what? I read an interview with him with David Frick and Rolling Stone around the time of the release, and the quote here is, "The whole record is about thinly veiled anger, very thinly veiled." So keep that in mind as we listen to it. And we'll let it play a little bit. I'm going to start it over so listeners can hear that Tom naughtiness again. And here we go.
Still getting our instruments set.
There's like 3 minutes of tuning.
Now, this is a song where I love the mixing right at the outset.
Is this 7/4 time?
7/8.
7/8. Okay.
And listeners, you can count it out.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2.
So how many eighth notes in 7/8? 7 of them. So some really, really beautiful vocal harmonies happening. When they perform this song live, listeners, I would recommend watching this song live on Letterman from the year of the release of the album, 2003. Ed does all of the vocal harmonies. really, really, really cool to watch. I would say peak Ed Tom harmony.
Now, you maintain that Ed doesn't do harmonies in the studio?
I would maintain that it's like a spoken rule, but I think on this album in particular, when there are gorgeous harmonies, it is very clear that it is Tom York overdubs. You know, I don't know, but that's the sense I get.
Now we're in a separate section here. Yeah. This is one of their songs where no section repeats once they leave it, which is
through composition.
Through composition, we learned from Brad Osborne.
Yes,
and
so
here it kicks into the rock.
Yep. So now we're into section C. But so what he's shouting, listeners, is you have not been paying attention. So we're still in that mode of repetition and short round bursts lyrically. Maybe a little bit more in this song compared to the previous two albums. But he is just repeating. And then here we go. New section.
This is my favorite part of the song.
Well, what time signature are we in now, Walker?
4/4?
Yep. So we're evoking the name of the album. Not something Radiohead does very frequently.
Zach, do you like this song?
This is my favorite part right here. Can we... Okay, we're going crazy, fans. I feel like that's what the song tells you is not we're losing our minds, but I think the band is telling you at the outset, get ready for Rock City. Now, whether or not that is actually what's going to happen, we'll find out. But yes, I do love that song. This is my favorite Radiohead album opener of any of Radiohead. Now, dedicated listeners will recall that during Kid A, I said that Walker unintentionally tipped my hand that Everything in Its Right Place is my favorite Radiohead album opener. Well, I will tell you, I meant up to that point in their discography.
Okay.
I'm not sure where this ranks in terms of album openers for you.
I'm not sure either. I will say it is one in a slew of amazing openers.
Yes.
I mean, man, do these motherfuckers know how to open a record. And I do think it is they've never gone this hard when they open a record. Is that funny to you?
Man, do these motherfuckers know how to open a record. I love that so much.
I mean, I agree. Including even Pablo Honey. Yeah, because Pablo Honey opens with You, which is one of the best songs on that album.
Yes.
And really big opener. But so we've got You, Planet Telex, Airbag, Everything in Its Right Place, Packed Like Sardines, and then this. None of them go as hard into rock territory as this one does. No. And I would say up to this album, even Radiohead doesn't play this fast, hard, and loud. No. Typically, they have songs that are in this area, but not
as an album opener.
No, and also not as their kind of go-to sound at all.
No, this one, I mean, it eases you in just in that plug-in and that bit of talking. You don't know what's coming, and then musically. I can recall, and this is not a Mandela effect, implanted memory. I can recall the first time I heard this song and just being like, what did I just hear? And that's not to say that reaction didn't occur with Everything in Its Right Place, but because I had listened to Kid A a little bit, and this was harder, faster, stronger. And then, let's just talk about the section changes a little bit real quick. So, as Walker just mentioned, and as listeners will remember in our interview with Brad Osborne, he talked about through composed form. This song has an A, a B, a C, and a D section. And recall that in through composition, we can repeat, but we never return to a section, right? We keep going. That's a Brad Osborne quote. We keep going. So the time signature in section A is 7/8. dum dum ducka dum dum ducka dum. Okay, right. But there are two sections to section A. There's A1 and A2. So from second 25 to 52, you have Are You Such a Dreamer? And then section A2 is 53 seconds into a minute 21. I Lay Down the Tracks. Then we go to section B, right? So we repeated it within section A. Then we go to section B, which is 122 to 153. It's The Devil's Way. We're in 5/4 time now, right? Now we have a new section C. Sorry, you have not been paying attention. We're in a 4/4 groove, and then we have section D, which is the groove continued, and then D2, where the voice re-enters, and we end on a G7 chord. So, yeah, we have a very angry, very clever, very deeply technical opener. And according to the band, this song was recorded in 2 hours.
That's so awesome.
It's crazy. And that's not to say they didn't rehearse it or anything like that, but to get a final product in 2 hours that has as many overdubs. I mean, I think you could hear it a little bit on the guitar. This would probably be the hardest Radiohead song I can play on the guitar. I can't duplicate it perfectly or anything like that, but I would say this song is the most technically challenging. So it just kind of shows you, I think, where the skill level of the band was at this point.
Mm-hmm. I think that this song sets a really cool intention for the record, both in terms of everything you're saying, but also the lyrics. So we'll just touch on that now that Tom York said in interviews that I read that he really did not want to write a political record.
Yeah.
Which this record is, I would say, their most overtly political. And basically just that it was like the chaos of the Britain and America's involvement in the Iraq war, in the Afghan and Iraq war, was just on in the background all the time, constantly seeping into his consciousness, and it was unavoidable. And that he couldn't help but write from a place of anger and disgust at what was happening. Sure. He also was a new father. So this album is full of allusions to children's stories and fairy tales. In this song, the last lyrics are, "Go and tell the king that the sky is falling in when it's not." So he used some of his randomization process that he used on the last two albums, but he also would take these heavy political themes and then try to convert them through a children's perspective.
Sure.
And so I think that you get that right away. I gotta say, when I hear this, if I could put myself in the mindset of somebody who is a Radiohead fan who's been following their career and is listening to this when it came out, which is not an experience I had, but as somebody who's a fan of a lot of their different flavors, as much as I love Kid A and Amnesiac, I'm very excited when I hear this because I love the idea of this band going, you know what, we're not going to do that. We're going to like make a pretty serious departure from that. And we're going to rock your face off. Like, we're going to be as loud as we were on the bends,
right,
but with all the knowledge that we have from those last three records. And so I think it's a sensational opener. I don't know where I put it in the rankings, but it's absolutely perfect for what you think they're going to do with this album.
Yeah, it sounds like Radiohead. It sounds like a new Radiohead. And I also think it sounds like Modest Mouse and the Mars Volta.
Sure.
And, you know, again, I said in the opener, I do find it to be kind of annoying and a little bit degrading to a person's individuality, an artist, if you're constantly comparing it to just because there might be sonic similarities. So I do want to preface my commentary with that. That said, I don't really think that there are a lot of Radiohead songs on the previous two albums that sound like other artists that are contemporary. And, you know, Modest Mouse are a more raw band than the cleanliness that is present in Radiohead's recording style. And I would say the same thing with the Mars Volta. But this just kind of goes into what I was saying at the outset, that I think this might be a little bit more of an influenced album, which is totally, totally fine. I just think that that's a bit of a departure by Radiohead standards.
Sure. So that's our first track. So when I hear that, Zach, I'm ready to rock.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Radiohead, you have taken me up to an 11. What are you going to do to me next? And what they're going to do is sit down, stand up. Oops.
love this piano line. So this is the second song of the album, and it's the second song to start in F minor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not a very common
No,
key.
not at all.
Sit down.
Now, I want to say that on their previous albums, I feel like the second tracks have been less of a jarring shift than we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So on track 2 of Amnesiac, we get Pyramid Song. Right? After Pact. So it's like first song is a little bit more restrained. Second song is more restrained.
Right. But it opens up though, as you
does.
said.
It brings the live band in, but it's not as violent of a tone shift. On Kid A, we go from the kind of electronically tinged everything in its right place to the title track, Kid A, continuing to show you this is what you're getting from us. We're doing something very different. Airbag on OK Computer, right into Paranoid Android.
Yep.
Zach, you might see what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that this is how they're following up what we just heard.
Well, yeah, because the way 2 + 2 = 5 comes to its screeching halt is so brilliant and is intentional. To come to a screeching halt, as if you're driving at 65 miles an hour and all of a sudden there's a concrete wall in front of you and you just have enough time to brake, to then open up with something that is, has like an electronic drum track, it does kind of, you do have to refocus. And if that was the way the whole sequencing of the album was, fine. But I think the sequencing is a little bit off. I don't want to jump ahead, but I agree with you though. I think it's an odd choice.
Song's also very, very repetitive.
Yeah.
And it is kicking into something different here. It's the same chords as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But it does kick into a new arrangement here in a second, and we'll let it build. You listeners can hear it's building. So I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed.
Okay, so so we're going to talk over this because what Tom is saying is the raindrops. And are you familiar with how many times this repeats, Walker?
No.
47 times.
Okay.
So the band had been writing and working on this song for the better part of 5 years. It really depends on who you ask. Tom said that he'd been working on the lyrics since OK Computer, which I think lyrically makes total sense. Sit down, stand up, it's it does feel like it's in the Kid A, Amnesiac, and a little bit of OK Computer mode, It's the way I think about stuff is so not how it works. I think about, okay, to the studio, when in fact with Radiohead, there's stuff that goes back many, many years. Johnny said 3 years.
Okay.
But Johnny doesn't write the lyrics, so pardon me. I do like the mixing of the acoustic drums overlaid with the very electronic instrumentation. It creates a nice salient balance. And I feel like it feels like a callback to Dollars and Cents, both by the expression on your face and what I think to be maybe your opinion of this song, and in what I hear. And again, I don't want to just be like, this sounds like that. Music and art is its own unique product. But I think there is quite a bit of that on Hail to the Thief, where it's like, hey, what were the beats that worked on the last albums? Let's do that again. Mm-hmm. And I think this feels very much it doesn't feel like an A to B, right? Like 2 + 2 = 5 sounds nothing like Packed Like Sardines,
right? That
sounds nothing like Pyramid Song, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a subconscious callback. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't think Radiohead is an artist that ever wants to be derivative, but that's my take.
Yeah. So, okay, here's what I'll say. This is one of the songs that grew on me.
Awesome.
When I started listening to this album for this podcast, I was very, very annoyed at this song. I think I'm more annoyed at its placement than anything else.
Okay.
I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it.
Okay.
I think it should be the floor of I think this should be the low point of this album.
Okay.
And it's not for me. I think.
How do you mean low point?
I mean that.
Like track 8 or something?
No, I mean, I think that this should be the worst song on this album.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It does sound like a leftover from Amnesiac Kid A to me.
Yes.
And if it was on either of those, it would be the worst thing on either of those albums.
Oh, okay.
And this is a problem that I have with some songs on this album. Where I think this album really succeeds is where it's doing 2 + 2 = 5. Hey, this is the Radiohead of 2003. You're not getting more Amnesiac Kid A.
Right.
You're getting us playing guitars in the studio, but with a proficiency that we didn't have when we were just a guitar band.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, 2 + 2 = 5. It sounds like the band that made OK Computer, but it doesn't sound like anything on OK Computer.
Absolutely.
And those are the moments where this album really succeeds for me, where they're doing live instrumentation with songwriting chops and composition chops that they just didn't have before. When they're repeating things that they have done on other albums, to me, these feel like much lesser versions. And with that song in particular, when the electronic stuff kicks in, we spent so much time talking about how the percussion tracks fade in and out of Packed Like Sardines. This album, when they bring in electronic elements, it feels like an afterthought to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's all this like really precise and tasteful editing. It feels like it's kind of like, okay, we're going to play this song. It's a fairly basic piano riff. It repeats through the whole thing. But then when the song eventually needs to go somewhere, we're going to just kind of throw this shit on top of it.
Yeah.
And I might be coming down really hard on it, but it's just Radiohead are suffering from me comparing them to Radiohead right now.
Yes.
And I just expect more intentionality and precision from them.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm like, what the hell is Nigel doing that he's not making more edits at this point?
I think that Nigel would have had, I think Nigel has more, what is the word? Nigel would have that kind of thought and intentionality that maybe is missing in that song, right? How the mixing doesn't fade in and out, and it is really, it sounds very 2003.
Yeah.
And to the extent where Radiohead could have shaped the sound of 2003. That's how influential of a band I think they are.
Right.
But I do agree with you that it's fine to have something 47 times over, just like it's fine to have the lyrics to Everything in Its Right Place be 3 lines long.
Right.
Right? So I have no issue with that. This song, I think, also suffers from the internet leak, though, in that they had been working on it for years. They'd never got it quite right. The leaked version does sound very similar, but because, and we'll find this on a few of the songs in this album, because they had been leaked to the public and they had decided it was going to be on the album, they didn't get to mix it maybe with that same level of subtlety that you were just kind of griping about. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that it would be a much better song, because I do think it's really cool how you have like almost kind of this bongo sound against some really, really, really aggressive electronic, unsubtle noises, but it doesn't fade in and out. So yeah, I agree with that take. I think I like the song more than you do, but I agree with all the observations you made.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, I mean, let's let the next song play.
Sure.
Which is Sail to the Moon. And I want to talk about something that is not specific to Sail to the Moon, but we will talk about this song too. But I'm just going to let it start. So one thing that's cool about the album of Hail to the Thief, and by the album I mean the physical copy, is they include all the lyrics, and each song has a different title in the lyric sheet than it has on the album. So, for example, they label 2 + 2 = 5 as The Lukewarm.
In parentheses, right?
In parentheses, but it doesn't say the actual title anywhere.
Okay.
So it's just like, as far as you're concerned, that's the name of this song when you're looking at these lyrics. The alternate title for Sit Down, Stand Up is Snakes and Ladders, which was also an alternate title for the album.
Yep.
And a lot of those show up in these lyric sheets here. I just wanted to say, I think some of these are better than others, but Snakes and Ladders is very cool, in my opinion.
And it goes to that children's kind of story as well.
Yes.
That you were mentioning.
Exactly. Some alternate titles for the album were Little Man Being Erased, The Bony King of Nowhere, Snakes and Ladders. I think they settled on the right thing, but if I had a second favorite, it would be Snakes and Ladders.
Which is a lyric in an upcoming song, a very far upcoming song, but we do hear some of these alternate titles lyrically embedded in different songs, which I think is neat, and speaks to the randomization that Thom Yorke approaches with his lyrical style.
So this is Sail to the Moon, another very slow one.
Parentheses, brush the cobwebs away.
Good memory, good remembering. Anything you want to say about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I think this song has very nice vocal melodies bouncing off of a very matured pianist in Thom Yorke. This is this is a very mature band in their abilities with their instruments, expanded instrumentation. Thom Yorke has grown quite a bit in his piano playing, and this definitely feels like some Greenwood lines bouncing off the piano and vocal, which I really like. Vocally, I think Thom Yorke's head resonance, just his style of singing is really, really strong on it, especially in this part. I'm not going to keep apologizing for what I think the band's conscious or subconscious attempt was in some of these song approaches. I really feel like this is a possible callback to an attempt to recreate Pyramid Song. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, it does have some good moments, but I think lyrically this is the weakest album on the song, the weakest song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sail to the Moon is a really dorky song title, and the parenthetical addition of Brush the Cobwebs Out of the Sky is also kind of dorky, and the narrative of the song lyrically doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I used to love this song, and I love this vocal harmony. Musically, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. But it is really, really dropped in my esteem.
That's interesting. The lyrics are kind of something that I do appreciate about the song. I feel like it's another one of those Radiohead things that has been especially prescient, in that I interpret this song sounding pretty and using pretty imagery, right?
Yeah.
Sailing to the moon. Again, there's that childlike kind of dreamlike imagery, but it's kind of about wasteless spending on, useless spending on spectacle.
Yes.
I think from government, right?
Yeah.
It's like the war is never going to stop, but and living in a time where billionaires are literally sending themselves to Mars.
Yeah.
I feel that it's got some resonance. Having said that, I do not like this song.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny.
It also reminds me of Pyramid Song.
Yeah.
If Pyramid Song had no memorable melody or anything particularly interesting happening in the arrangement.
But that's so funny, though, because you and I honed in on different things. Maybe we like even the opposite things from one another, but, we're not going to rate it out of 10, but I think that it's both not a winner for us.
Yeah.
It's so funny, though. I mean, who would have thought people are different? No, but I do think vocally there's some good stuff there, and I like your take on the lyrics. That does make me like it a little more, but I just don't like that it's like this whimsical kind of song, but then there's the line about being president.
Mm-hmm.
The unsubtlety of some of the political dejection on this album, I think, is maybe a little bit of a weak point. We can go to the next song.
Okay, well, let's see what's got next.
Well, the honeymoon is over, folks, because going into Backdrifts here.
This is Backdrifts. The first more solely electronic track on this album. I'm sure it would not surprise me if we hear a couple acoustic instruments pop up in here, but this is a pretty strictly electronic music track.
Yeah, and this is another song the band had been kicking around for many years. Accounts also vary. Lyrics began during the OKC sessions, which I do think, unlike Sit Down, Stand Up, which I can't really align lyrically with the OK Computer era, I do think some of the lyrics of this song feel like they would be potentially in an OK Computer. I mean, obviously, because they're both authored by Tom York. But I'm just talking about the mode of lyrics. I could see this written in previous years, especially because it is a little bit more dense lyrically than the songs from Kid A and Amnesiac. This is another song that the arrangement was really rushed so that it could make the album after being leaked before release. And my take on this song is that it sounds like an In Rainbows track before they were ready and before it had been sort of finalized to the mode that they're playing in Rainbows.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds like something to me also, but not that. To me, it sounds like a B-side from Tom's, at this time, unreleased, first solo album, The Eraser. This groove sounds very at home on that album to me. I have the same problem with this that I do a lot of other stuff on this album. It's not that I don't like this groove or that this is a terrible song, but it just sounds like the loops all just repeat, and that to me is a move of a much lesser band than Radiohead. Radiohead takes these songs on Kid A and Amnesiac that could just be these kind of like boring electronic songs that repeat and just add tracks.
Yeah.
And they bring so much they bring so many new dynamics to it and make them hard to predict and hard to follow, even if it's a steady beat and a steady count the whole time. Exactly. Yeah. And this to me is just, it's a little
I love that part.
That is cool.
That part
that is cool. It is groovy too.
No, it's really groovy, and I can imagine. I'll shut up when he does his part, but how exciting this would be if you'd been with Radiohead from the beginning or since the Bends. Like, this is new and exciting. Where I can really picture Tom York doing his funky dancing, absent a guitar and just with a microphone. There's a lot of confidence in the singing. That's cool. I like that a lot, and I think that I want to minimize the evocations of In Rainbows, but I really do feel like this is Radiohead in a new level of comfortability and confidence. I meant to mention on the first two songs that I do hear Tom York riffing a little bit, like vocally, and I hear it on this one as well. It's not to say he doesn't do it on the previous albums, but to your point, which I think was incredibly well said, it's just a little bit repetitive. And I don't know what the vibe of this album is yet.
Also, listen to these samples. This sounds dated.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You already said it. These sounds sound very 2003.
Right.
And the sounds on Kid A do not sound like anything I have ever heard before or since.
Correct, yeah.
So their blips and bloops are just a lot less strong on this album. Same with Sit Down, Stand Up at the end when it starts.
Well, that sounds very Muse to me. And I think
it just is like I feel like the library they're pulling from is
cheap.
Not as good.
Whereas I think Kid A and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's it. I feel like their sound library is weaker.
Yeah, and I feel like what's very ironic about like some of the I said cheap, but the electronic inputs in a song like Sit Down, Stand Up is that Amnesiac and Kid A came 2 to 3 years prior. Right, so it just goes to show you that, like, more technology at your disposal, at your fingertips, more money, whatever, doesn't make for a more interesting song. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the limitations that might have even made those more timeless.
Now, listeners, you might be asking yourself at this point, is Walker gonna just bitch and moan through this entire album? And maybe, I don't know. But I have a good feeling about what's on the horizon here Now, this has 45 seconds left. What do you think if I just skip ahead?
That's fine with me.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Listeners, go listen to the last 45 seconds of Backdrifts.
Yeah.
Because this is Go to Sleep, which was the second single on the album and a real high point for me. Already I'm happy that I'm hearing a guitar being strummed for the first time since the opening of this album.
Yeah, and a very funky time signature, too. So during our discussion of Pyramid Song, I had the take that I think the vocal melody is a little bit Led Zeppelin-y, or maybe more Robert Plant focused.
This is very Led Zeppelin 4.
This is Led Zeppelin, and I said, I think there's one other song in Radiohead's catalog that I think is original, but potentially an homage, and this is the song I was speaking of. This is so Zeppelin-y.
Yeah.
But totally unique.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. But I get how you would get there. This is a very like Jimmy Page when he was in his open D tuning bag.
Yeah, and this song is in standard tuning.
No shit.
Yeah. So
definitely sounds drop D.
This part is so. The chord progression is very Jimmy Page too.
Yeah. This is where it changes.
We're going B flat, C, G. Which is the most Jimmy Page chord progression of all time. B flat, C, G.
Now this groove right here, this could be on the bends, and I mean that in a very complimentary way.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Wow. And when I was simplifying that chord progression, listeners, there's a very kind of jazzy chord structure here, but at its most simplistic level, it's B flat, C, G.
So those background noises there that are the weird feedback that's kind of matching the vocals, that to me, and I mean this in all seriousness, sounds like an Ed contribution that I really dig, right? Because it's like he's clearly running, and they're doing a lot of this live in the studio. I'm not saying that isn't an overdub, it could be, but that seems like something Ed would do is they run the vocals through a pedal and and he's picking and choosing where to enhance. Oh,
that bend sounds like Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does sound like the bends, actually. I love the vocal overlay. So yeah, I love Tom York's comfortability as a singer on this album. I think vocally, Hail the Thief does represent a peak in Tom York as a singer, even on tracks I don't love. And there's such looseness and confidence that I was talking about, I don't know that I fleshed out my point, but I was talking about the live performances of Kid A and Amnesiac so informing what the band could still do. And I think that, we talked about it a lot, how comfortable and confident Tom York seemed as a frontman. And there are little moments where it kind of Bono-esque of like, yeah, or dig it. He never says dig it, listeners. But that song and Sit Down, Stand Up and the opening track, you really hear a looseness. I think that is really cool vocally.
I agree with that. I also just think, too, about that jam in the end. It's an example of where it doesn't go nearly as big as it could, and I really appreciate that. It's cool because it makes it the kind of the biggest moment is that wow, and you're like, oh shit, are we about to go into Rock City? And it never does, but it doesn't leave me cold at all.
Yeah.
It's a really nice moment of restraint where the drums really never fully open up. He's on the toms for that whole jam. The acoustic guitar is driving it the whole time. And I really appreciate that it's just like, we're just going to give you a couple minutes of this like really nice groove.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take it to a big place, but it feels really warm. It does feel like more up close and personal and like a glimpse of them jamming in the studio than I think we've gotten on any album. And I really like it. And I just think it's a great song. And it's another one of those moments where I have some issues with arrangements on this album, but I also think that one thing that this album shows is that a great song is a great song.
Yeah.
And you can play it big or you can play it quiet. Like there's a song, I'm not going to say which one it is, but there's a song later on this album that I think is just a great song and just perfect songwriting. And there's two versions of it in existence that I know of.
Okay.
And I love the one they put on the album, but it honestly doesn't make a big bit of damn difference to me because it's kind of like, this is just a great song and you really can't fuck it up that much.
Yeah.
And I feel like the songs that really bum me out on this album, the Sails to the Moons, for example, are just that I just want Tom to go work on the song a little more.
Yeah.
And the little bits of melody that you hear that stand out or the chord progressions that are interesting, I'm just like, oh, that's probably the beginning of another spectacular song. I just feel that it's like, it just feels like the songs are rushed to production.
Yeah.
And the moments that really jump out, I'm like, they could have played that last song louder. They could have done a more electronic arrangement of it. And I still think it would stand out as just a really good Radiohead song.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I love that song. I love everything that you just said. I don't really have anything to add except for that the parenthetical next to the title is Little Man Being Erased. And I'm sorry if you said that, but it's Go to Sleep, Little Man Being Erased.
Yeah.
Which is a really fun parenthetical for me. I don't love all the additions, but I like that one. And I don't suspect there was intentional word painting there, but it is sort of like a Little Man Being Erased. It's like you because it never opens up, it's this really jammy song, but we're gonna just take it down. We're never going to fully open it up. I don't know. Might be a stretch.
No, I mean, it's another like very familiar theme with Radiohead is just like overwhelmed by the world.
Yes.
Yeah. It's something for the rag and bone man over my dead body. Something big is going to happen over my dead body. Someone's son or someone's daughter over my dead body. This is how I end up getting sucked in over my dead body. It sounds like somebody who's just like, I cannot deal with what is happening around me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to let the next song play, but I will say, because we're stopping between a lot of songs, just to keep kind of track listeners of the flow of this album, we started with a big rock song.
Yeah.
And then we really, really, really slowed down for 3 songs. This one, by this point, because I only listen to this album all the way through every time I listen to it for the podcast.
Sure.
So I heretofore have gotten very impatient with what they're doing on this album. Go to Sleep comes on, and I'm like, okay, you sons of bitches got me back in.
Yeah.
Are they going to keep it going, Zach? That now I've been tapping my foot, bobbing my head. Well, let's answer that question with the next song, Where I End and You Begin.
Parentheses, the sky is falling in.
Okay. Now I know.
So what do we got?
Is.
Instrumentation.
I'm hearing a little bit of Ona's Marinette.
Martineau.
Damn it. One day I am hearing a little bit of Ona's Martineau.
Owns Martineau.
God damn it.
It's okay. I've been mispronouncing Penderecki.
It seems Flea is guesting on this track.
Oh,
interesting.
Okay. There's a really cool From a Basement session of them playing this song.
Oh, cool.
See, Johnny is indeed at the Owns Martineau. It sounds more like a theremin to me, honestly, in this song, but, 6 of one, 2 + 2 = 5 of another, that didn't work.
No, I'm sorry. That was good. That was better than it got credit for.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're in like a rock groove.
Sure.
And this is the most bass-forward song ever in Radiohead's catalog up to this point.
Yeah, I might be wrong. It's a little bit more subtle in the mix, even though I think that's probably the peak that we've gotten so far.
But that's why I made the little joke about, is Flea playing right now?
Yeah.
Because we don't really get a lot of rolling bass lines.
No.
And this is pretty straightforward stuff that he's playing too.
It's driving the song. The bass and the percussion are driving. So we got that mirroring from the instrumentation of Tom's voice a little bit.
Yes.
Which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that slow build that Radiohead has kind of gotten us accustomed to on some of their songs.
And it's going to open up here, but let me just ask you now, Zach.
Yeah?
How do you feel about this song?
I love this song.
You love this song.
I love this song. And I love it for this part coming up and many other parts. This is fun to me.
This
is very Greenwood.
Like the Handsome Man.
Oh, okay. No, okay. Well, anything's possible. The aggression and the attack is very Greenwood. Or Tom. in From a Basement, it is Tom that does that part.
Okay.
And then we open up to some very interesting sounds, right? We've opened up the song. Sounds like what I imagine if mermaids were a real thing and if they could talk. That's what it's very Pyramid Song in that way.
Yeah, the whale of, and this is.
Or I guess it does sound like whales. That's probably why I said mermaids. But
this is my favorite part here.
So cool.
So the wailing owns Martineau.
There you go.
Into a different progression.
And I like
now,
the mixing
this is
here.
very satisfying when this kicks in.
Yes.
It's cool that what Johnny is
yes.
doing on the theremin sound doesn't change, but the progression does.
This is such a fun song to watch them play in the From a Basement session. Tom is wailing on his guitar. As we talked about with Brad Osborne, it's not always Johnny. And I didn't mean to shoot down your Ed theory, but it is so fun to watch.
No, that's okay. You put me and the handsome man in our places. Now, let's just say Tom is now saying, I'll eat you alive.
Yes.
And it's to the exact melody that the bass has been playing, which I think is cool.
And listeners, it's very good that there's no video to this podcast because I'm air guitaring as if I were left-handed.
This song definitely feels like it's meant to be played live. I would be happy if this came on a set list at a radio show. At a Radiohead show. May I be critical?
Yeah.
So I like this song. It's a rocker. It's emotional.
Yeah.
I am at this point still very relieved to be in a more like. It sounds like I hate when Radiohead is slow. I really don't. I just find some of the slower or quieter or more electronic moments on this album to be really dreary.
Okay.
And kind of devoid of, they just leave me really cold. Like when I hear Sail to the Moon, I'm not like, oh, I hate this. It just doesn't really move me much in any way.
Yeah.
And so I'm just happy to be tapping my foot.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear the band playing. I'm happy that it's not a super slow piano.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at this point in the album, it's like picking back up for me. And so I like this song. I like the placement on the album. I like this style in the context of Radiohead being like, we're doing a more back to basics rock record.
Right.
I also just have some criticisms that it also to me would be a lot better on given the amount of kind of blood, sweat, and tears that they poured over the arrangements on previous albums.
Sure.
I love The Wailing owns Martineau, but it feels a little bit like another one of those, okay, this is kind of a basic rock song. We're not doing anything particularly Radioheady on it. So, hey, Johnny, can you throw that shit on top of it?
Oh my God, Walker. I mean, I my note here as I wrote, even expanded use of instrumentation such as the Owns Martineau and Where I End and You Begin is very cool and of course unique, but it feels like more of an homage to its use in Pyramid Song than it does an excited use of a new tool.
Okay. Yeah.
And I do want to say too, listeners, this has nothing to do with anything, but Johnny Greenwood does refer to his guitars as tools.
Which I love. Yeah, okay, so you get it.
So I feel it's pretty close.
If this wasn't Radiohead, I'd be like, whoa, who's this band? This sounds interesting and cool.
Yeah.
When it's Radiohead, I'm a little bit like, it's crazy to be calling this song basic, but it's a little basic.
No, but I think that song is such a good example of a previous Zach holding the opinion that I had and that I do have in certain respects, that it picks and pulls from both parts, right? But I used to think that I liked Kid A and Amnesiac. I'll say I used to think that I liked Kid A little bit less than I actually do at this moment, subject to change, of course. So in terms of the way I used to appraise Hail to the Thief, that song represents like the distillation of that, right? That it's pulling from both. But now with a little bit of hindsight and maybe growth, I kind of agree with what you're saying. No, I'm not kind of. I agree with what you're saying, as evident by the fact that my note matched what you said.
Yeah.
Not to put words in your mouth at all.
No. We listeners, The Glenn brothers agree again. Now, before we get into the next song, I kind of keep checking in with you and the listeners about like my kind of emotional state as I ride the wave of this album, because I really don't want to claim that I completely cleared my mind of my bias about this album, but I really, really was like along for the ride. And so I just want to say 2 + 2 = 5. Fuck yeah, I'm in.
Right.
Sit down, stand up. Okay. It's kind of like, I don't love what you're doing right here, but like, I'll allow it.
46 times instead of 47.
Exactly. Come on. 47? You're having a laugh, Radiohead. I'm like still in. Yeah. I'm a little bit like cautious at that point. Sail to the Moon, I'm starting to kind of lose faith.
Right.
Backdrifts, I'm now irritated. I'm like irritated how far away from the vibe you started me with you've taken me. Go to Sleep and Where I End and You Begin, I'm back in.
Yeah.
I'm going, okay, Radiohead, I'm sorry that I doubted you.
Yes.
Because even though I don't love every move you're making, I should have trusted that you knew what you were doing.
Right.
And you were going to take me to a cool place again. Right. So now I am back in, is what I would say. And nothing that I don't like has bugged me so much that I wouldn't say, I don't like this album.
Right.
That's where I'm at now as we go into the next track. So can Radiohead keep this going? They have almost lost me, gotten me fully back invested. And so the next song after that, and I'm all in at this point, Zach, you understand, right? Is We Suck Young Blood, which sounds like this.
Now, if there is a Radiohead... Is it okay if I start talking?
Yes.
If there is a Radiohead fan on Reddit or anywhere who claims that this is their favorite song, they are trying to be unique and cool and a contrarian, because this is absolutely a song that has cool blips and bloops. I like the upcoming clap. Okay, it's upcoming.
It's intentionally off time, so it's hard to predict.
I think this feels like them screwing around in the studio, and I'm just really surprised that it made the final cut. I do think it's an attempt to recapture some of the magic in You and Who's Army, which for a song of this quality, which is not high by Radiohead standards, I am fine saying that. I think the band was just screwing around and we're like, what were the beats that worked? Because there is a moment upcoming that feels pace-wise similar to You and Who's Army, and it's really, really fucking cool. This bugs me, though. I don't like what Tom's doing with his voice, and I want to let you speak, Walker.
I agree with everything you're saying. When that piano chord kicks in, the opening of this song, after just you getting me to rock with you on Where I End and You Begin, I am furious at this point in the album.
Okay.
When every single time I listened to this, when it would get to this point, it was like I would sometimes groan out loud. It is... This is a terrible song.
It feels really self-indulgent, too. See, I like this. I mean,
but what is this song? It's so unpleasant and dreary, and to me it sounds like what haters say Radiohead is. And that's the thing that really fucks me up about this album, is there are moments to me where they are kind of living up to the cliche image that people erroneously have of them.
We talked about...
And I feel bad even saying that.
Well, I talked about...
Music to slit your wrists to, yeah?
But
wouldn't want to play it at a 1-year-old's party.
I do like music to slit your wrists, too.
Yeah.
Posers slit their wrists to this song. Okay, that's the no, I mean... I like that little... the background. What's interesting to me is that the jazz influences that aren't rudimentary by any means, but jazz is a whole style of music that one can dedicate their entire life to and become maybe proficient in. Radiohead are leaning into those influences on the previous 2 albums, having presumably just learned it.
Yeah.
This feels like somebody who just heard jazz and is a professional musician, but has not figured out how to make it work yet.
Yeah.
And
it's just not
and
a
it is
good
all the things
song
you said
to
too.
me. And I don't mean
Oh,
that.
okay. I love this
So then
part.
there's this freak out.
I wouldn't say I love it. I like this. And I often forget about this part too.
Yeah.
But
so,
like the sequencing of the album, we come to a screeching halt for no... we're back.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool to... I also thought of You and Whose Army, a song that is vocals and guitar.
Right.
Maybe a few, like, very subtle notes on the bass guitar.
Yeah.
Until the full band kicks in. I like it. I like when Radiohead makes you wait. It's just You and Whose Army has a great melody.
Right.
And is a great song. And when I say this is not a good song, I don't mean that as like an objective fact. I just mean this song does not sound finished.
No.
Where's the melody? This sounds like something he made up and then recorded immediately.
It also sounds too like...
It just sounds like a weird demo.
Yeah, it sounds like a weird demo, and it sounds like something that Walker bought me the book. I don't even know if it was for a reason, just to be nice, but Walker bought me the book Fear Stalks the Land, which is a...
Oh, it was because we host a Radiohead podcast together.
I know, it was just sweet of you, though. And this feels like a limerick or a poem that belongs in that book. Just even the lyrics, "We suck young blood," are kind of dorky. It's like, no, you don't. Like, this isn't Radiohead. The thing that I
think it's
love,
another allusion, right, to
yes,
people being sent off to die in a
military
illegal war.
or corporations. You know, that's what they prey upon is young fertile minds or blood or whatever. Whatever the interpretation of it is. But the thing that I do really like about a bad Radiohead song at this stage in their career is I am not embarrassed or nervous to the extent where when like a bad U2 song comes on in their stage in their career. It's not that it's like, oh my God, everything they do is so good it can't be embarrassing, but that is genuinely how I feel.
Yeah.
It's just an unfinished B-side by a band where I'm like, oh, there was some decision making in putting it on the album.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, if this was supplemental material, I would be like, oh, it's really interesting to hear what else they were fucking around with.
Yeah.
But to put what sounds like a fuck around on your follow-up to Amnesiac, I'm just like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's come up a bunch. At this point, now, as I've said, Zach, at this point in listening to the album, I'm now angry.
Right.
I now feel betrayed by Radiohead.
Okay.
I feel that Radiohead is making me the fool at this point. that they know how much I love them, and they're like deliberately kind of flaunting that power with me. So I'm looking for people to blame at this point. And I kept landing on Nigel.
Okay.
I kept being like, all these things that I keep griping about, that it's like, why is this song that's so slow, why doesn't it like go anywhere?
Yeah.
Why does it sound like Johnny is just playing this instrument over the whole song, but there's nothing interesting happening with the arrangement? And I was like, I really think those are the Nigel touches. Right. So I'm like looking up, was Nigel, I was like, was this when he was making an album with Paul McCartney or something? Like I was kind of, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, he sounds so checked out. No, he made one other album this year.
Yeah.
It was with a band whose name I can't remember, but they're not as big as Radiohead. He made a Paul McCartney album the year after this. He made a Beck album the year before us. Radiohead Radiohead had his attention.
Well, but it was kind of what I was talking about. You can blame Nigel for the lack of Nigel, I think, a little bit.
But, well, according to the Handsome Man, his big thing is we didn't listen to Nigel.
Right. And I think that speaks to, this is fun to speculate about. I was saying, why speculate if these guys are so great for not sowing discord? But I do think that, I don't hear like Hollywood in a Radiohead album, but I do hear the absence of Nigel or, whatever. And I think that songs like that are absent the oversight that Nigel has provided, which is funny because I think Nigel is a little bit younger than Tom. And there's an age range in Radiohead of about 5 to 6 years. It's not huge. But I think Nigel's squarely in the middle. But I do think he oversees, like any good producer or director should, in a little bit of a parental role, right? And it's very subtle with Nigel. because these are all grown men.
Right.
But, I think anyways, I don't need to keep going.
No, that's interesting. I mean, I found a quote from Ed where he said they ran roughshod over his feedback.
Well, it's very apparent on songs like that.
Yeah. Now, I'm also wondering, too, is this that thing of how, like, Martin Scorsese finally attains, like, godlike powers in his field and gets to achieve his vision, making Gangs of New York, and it sucks? Is this, like, I'm not trying to be funny here, but is this also a little bit of, does Radiohead just think their shit doesn't stink because of what they just achieved with Kid A and Amnesiac, and they're like, hey, something that would be a fuck around for somebody else must be great. Like, We Suck Youngblood must be great. Or do they know that this isn't up to quality and they just don't care because they're so exhausted from the last two albums?
That makes more sense to me because, we forget too that like there's usually a year of touring. We don't forget. I forgot that there's usually like a year of touring. So Amnesiac is released mid-year 2001. They're already recording this in 2002. So what break did they have?
Right.
Walker and I have read a lot or, whatever about the band. So we know that there's a longer span of time in between this album and the next one. And I think very well earned. And, of course, anyone's going to develop an ego. I think this is also them imitating the Beatles a little bit in that, yes, absolutely. In that, I don't think that like Ed and Phil got a song per se. Wouldn't be a problem if they did. But like the Ringo tracks are never my favorite. They're kind of quaint and fun. But I do know that Ed and Phil sequenced this album. They decided the sequencing. I think they made some very good choices and some very bad ones, as we've already talked about. That's probably apparent. And I don't think resequencing makes it any better per se, or makes the not so great songs better. But yeah, I think that it's probably ignoring Nigel, and I think that giving everyone a little bit too much of a voice is problematic because this sounds like a Tom York solo song. This song we're currently listening to.
I want to continue the line of thought that we're talking about, but we'll just say the next track, The Gloaming, is playing in the background.
Yes.
Please continue what
this,
you're saying.
This is from The Eraser. I'm being hyperbolic, but this is not a Radiohead song to me. And I just think that Johnny became, to quote my wife, Kailani Glenn, on Kid A and Amnesiac, Johnny became the musical leader and Tom became the glue. And I think Kid A is an album without a leader a little bit. And I think Tom and Johnny still are very much the leaders.
Do you mean Hail to the Thief?
I'm sorry. I mean, yes, I mean Hail to the Thief. That was a good point. I was rolling. But
it does feel like nobody's in charge.
Yes, and the quote from my wife is about Kid A and Amnesiac, which I just think is so well said. And I extrapolate from that point that I think Hail to the Thief has no leader. And maybe there's a push-pull between Johnny and Tom. I think Tom clearly has the stronger personality between the two, as far as more verbally and all that. I don't know what the relationship is like at all. I just know it's beautiful to watch. But I do think that it's like, who is the leader of this band? It's clearly not Nigel. It feels like more Tom at times. What do you think, Walker?
I think that's a great observation. I think it sounds a little rudderless because I think it kind of must be... If it's anybody, it's got to be Tom. Because I feel like, honestly, Tom is just not in his best shape on this album in terms of...
He wants to make The Eraser, I feel like.
Yeah, like this.
Like this song.
Like, why is this a Radiohead song?
It's not.
And Idiotech is an electronic song.
Yes.
It is a Radiohead song.
It's so weird because
you feel everybody's input in there. Yes, even the handsome man. And
absolutely.
This feels like Tom fucked around on his laptop.
Yeah.
And threw some vocals on it and then threw it on a Radiohead album.
Yeah, this kind of feels a little bit egotistical. Because it does feel like it is music. I'm not of the mind that Aphex Twin or Idiotech or whatever is not music just because it's clickety-clack and digital. But this does, outside of the vocal melody, it feels self-indulgent, and it also feels egotistical of the other members' role in the band.
And if I didn't recognize Tom's voice, this could be anybody.
Totally.
Now, you brought up sequencing, and we're going to talk more about sequencing next week. We have a guest, and the interesting thing, I already said everybody feels their Hail to the Thief take is like that they're the only one who has it. Another thing everybody seems to have, both in the band and outside of the band, is their version of how they would sequence this album, what they would leave off, what they would add. There are B-sides for this album. We're not going to get it, but we're going to get into those next week with our guest. You said Phil and Ed did the main sequencing. Another interesting thing I found is part of me feels bad for how hard I'm coming down on this album, because the process was much more enjoyable for the band to hear them all tell it, to make this album, than the last two albums. I'm kind of like, hey, I would rather you guys all
have suffered for my enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, because I'm just like, well, then have less fun during the next one. But Ed did say,
which they did,
and I think the results speak for themselves. Ed said that this was the first album that they'd made that they didn't want to kill each other afterwards.
Okay.
But that
I did not know that.
Fought a lot over the sequencing.
Okay.
And Tom York has a resequenced version of Hail to the Thief.
I did not know this.
That we'll discuss it.
I'm so excited.
It's interesting. I guess we'll do. This is just a preview for next week. Some of the different versions of Hail to the Thief are a thing we'll be comparing, and our guest has their own version. Will it be better than Tom York's version of Hail to the Thief? I'm not sure.
Well,
but the sequencing is a real point of contention among the band.
That's really interesting. But do you know what's fun? And I really think that I like your angle on a lot of this, because I know that like some of it's been negative, but I don't think you're going too hard. But just to kind of sweeten what may sound like listeners might not know where we're at in this album. Well, that was just track 8. And a reminder, there are 14 tracks on this album. There are 14 tracks on this album. So there could be plenty of good in front of us, and I believe that there is.
Okay, great. Well, let's see what's up next.
Wait. Can we take a Hail to the P? I do have to pee.
So now we have what I believe was the third and final single of the album. And this is a Radiohead song called There, There.
Different mode than the gloaming.
Very much so.
Got the bass. First stringed instrument we hear.
Now, I don't know how they did it in the studio, but live at this point, Johnny and Phil are both playing the floor toms.
Really, really cool to see.
I want to say something positive here.
Okay.
I've given Colin a little bit of shit. I do think that there's a problem with his bass being too high in the mix, not in this song, on this album, and his playing not being as nicely restrained as it is on other albums. This is a moment where I feel him getting to do whatever he wants, and it serves the song really well.
Yeah.
This is a much busier bass line than I think you would hear him do even during the most rockin' songs on the last couple albums.
Yeah.
But I really like the melodic bass line he's doing here.
This is a really fun song to learn, listeners, on guitar. The tuning is starting with the 6th string. You tune it down to a D. Then you tune your A string up to a B.
Whoa.
So it's D, B, D, G, B, E. And it is possible to play in standard tuning. And this is one of those songs where I think the technical aptitude of Radiohead is so apparent, because that tuning sounds like, what, were they just fucking around and said, hey, I'll drop my low E a full step and then tune up my A string a whole step? No, there is utility in it, and it's because doing the chords is really hard on a guitar in standard tuning. So I think probably Johnny Greenwood or Tom York were like, how can I find this voicing? And if I tune my guitar this way. And I think that's really hard to do when you're messing around with alternate tunings.
So should we just come right out with it and say that we love this song?
Yes.
Is this your favorite Radiohead song, Zach?
I don't know.
It has been, hasn't it?
It has been. I mean, it's so satisfying in the way that the other songs have deprived us. We have a beautiful, potentially song about love lost, like
it lyrically feels way more emotional and personal.
Yeah, I think of this song as like The One That Got Away a little bit is sort of what the tone of the lyrics remind me of. And I'm talking about in the first 2 minutes, 55 seconds.
Yeah, because what happens here, Zach? Should we let it breathe?
Yes, absolutely.
So we've been very pretty up to this point, and then
the drum track has never changed, which is what's so cool. So we're back in I Might Be Wrong territory a little bit.
Except for that one snare roll, which I love because you think it's about to kick in, and then no. Radiohead knows when to hold back. They know when to tease and when to squeeze, don't they, Zach?
Yeah. So what he's saying here is, why so green and lonely? So what I was talking about of love lost or the one that got away, this is the bitter side of that. I feel like he's talking to himself a little bit. Why so green and lonely? What is it when someone gets away? You're pissed. You're sad. Heaven sent you to me.
I mean, it's amazing. This is that thing they can do, too, where you take heaven sent you to me, and then you view it with all this, like, sinister intent. Okay, here we go.
Johnny's thrown on his guitar. He's not playing the toms anymore. And I love it, too.
That is my favorite lead guitar moment since Paranoid Anthem.
Yeah. And it could have ended here, but we get this beauty again.
Listeners' mouths are lip syncing with the lyrics. Heads are bobbing in the studio.
There we go. Another pop. So we talked about it in our episode with Brad Osborne. The chord progression here, listeners, for our chord heads out there, is B minor, D minor, A minor, E minor. So B minor and E minor are in the key signature, but to chromatically alter it to D minor and to A minor, that's such a Radiohead thing to do. It's a little bit of a John Lennon thing to do as well, but only Radiohead can do that. It's very, very... it's hard to write a vocal melody over such an odd chord progression.
It's not intuitive.
No. Let me go into my sneaky second favorite of the album. Our second song that is through composed.
This is a beautiful song.
Mm-hmm.
It is, for my money, the shortest Radiohead song, perhaps, that we have heard up to this point. It clocks in at just under 2 minutes. I love this placement. I love that this is on the album. Zach, this song makes me really long for something that I don't think we're ever going to get.
What?
But on every Radiohead album, I can't think of another song included on an album that doesn't ever add other instruments other than a guitar.
Totally.
I would love a Tom York solo album composed in the style of like an Elliott Smith album. Yeah. With acoustic, minimal songs. I don't think he's ever going to do that, but there's B-sides like that on every album, and I love all of them.
I do, yeah.
I love when he's working in this mode of
section change. But no, I mean,
there's overdubs here, but it's just when he does just guitar vocal songs, man, do I love them.
And this, oh my gosh, this song is so, listeners, if I sound verklempt, it's because I am.
And the lyric here is so haunting.
Sinister.
Little baby's
eyes.
Tom described this as the angriest song he ever wrote.
That's crazy. I mean, because it's so mellow, but you hear that. And I mean, how can somebody convey anger in a beautiful vocal harmony? I don't know. Ask Tom York because he did it. And I think that song too, because it's only 2 minutes, is the antithesis of We Suck Young Blood, in that it does sound like they just went in and were screwing around. Air quotes, I'm screwing around. But and the result is perfection. That song, as we talked about in our Kid A episode, is probably high on the list of Radiohead songs I'd like to die to. Mm-hmm. Jokes aside, I mean, it's just, its placement after there is so smart. It's the opposite of 2 + 2 = 5 to Sit Down, Stand Up.
You're right.
It's the opposite, but it's the same in that you're like, whoa, why did we? But it works so beautifully there.
It really slows things down without bringing things to a halt.
Yeah.
And again, though, but Zach, this is where I'm kind of just like, I think that it's sequencing is important, arrangement is important, but this is where I kind of contend if the songs are good enough, who gives a shit? And I think the difference between why this doesn't wreck the flow of the album after something as big as There,
it's the quality.
and Sit Down, Stands Up is just, it's just a better song.
Yeah.
Now let's say that you thought you were going to pass away in 2 minutes, but you're hanging on. You're not quite towards the light yet, and you're still dying, and it goes into the next song on this album that we're hearing now, A Punch Up at a Wedding.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
Well,
because that's what we're hearing now, Zach.
In that scenario, I'm a little bit like, God, can I just die? But, in terms of like songs that don't get a lot of attention, and if they do, it might just be some person trying to be a contrarian, I actually really like the song.
This is another one that was a big grower for me.
Yeah.
I like this song
really
too.
like this song a lot.
I like it because it's what I want this album to be.
Yes.
Which is Radiohead rocking in the studio.
The vocal work is so good in the song too.
It's a very... Zach, what do you think of this? I find this to be a very Peter Gabriel-esque kind of groove.
I love it. Yeah.
Like, because it's...
Oh, man, that's a good call.
Well, the funk bass with the very, like, sad minor chords and, like...
And it being a story that makes no sense.
Yeah,
is
so...
Peter Gabriel-ish.
I didn't know for a long time that a punch-up is British for a fight.
Yeah.
And let's look at these lyrics. So... Actually, Zach, this is where I got to tell you this crazy fucking thing about my vinyl of this album. So I'm looking, I have my record out. I received a copy that is in error.
Okay.
This is a double LP.
Uh-huh.
I have 2 LPs of this. I have 2 of the same LP.
Uh-huh.
I have sides A and B 2 times. They gave me the same record twice in this one.
Oh, wow.
So
is it?
The great news is
it enhanced value?
No, it's just a misprint. I guess they just put the wrong record.
But this isn't like the Butcher Paper scenario with the White Album.
I don't think so. I think I just got a what is the word I'm searching for?
Manufacturer error?
Yeah. I
misprint.
I got a misprint, or like in the factory they put the record in twice.
That's got to be worth some money, dude.
It's really annoying, because I don't want the same half of the album twice in a row.
Right.
You know, I mean, I guess the good news is I get to listen to Sail to the Moon twice. But yeah, so I might actually be... No. Okay, so the lyrics here. I don't know why you bother. Nothing's ever good enough for you. I was there and it wasn't like that. You came here just to start a fight. You had to piss on our parade. You had to shred our big day. You had to ruin it for all concerned in a drunken punch-up at a wedding. So this is one of those rare Radiohead songs that's pretty direct.
Yeah.
This song seems to be about what the title says it is.
I like this mixing, too. This is fun. Dated or not. This is... Man, that Peter Gabriel call is good. And I would say, Walker, too, that call of Peter Gabriel... could be extrapolated out to maybe 1 or 2 other songs. I'm not even thinking hyper specifically, but I teased a little bit that I was going to name the influences throughout as we listen. I think because we are going into a section of the album where this song is a good one, but the next couple are not ones that I need to provide a ton of commentary on.
Okay.
Just to take it a couple steps back to There. That moment at 2:55 where the song pivots into the coda, that beautiful harmonies. Tom York singing reminds me very much of Stevie Nicks, singer of Fleetwood Mac.
Sure.
And I think that there's a couple other moments. The way he belts that war cry of There is very much Gold Dust Woman. And that's the thing Stevie Nicks does that I don't think she gets enough credit for as a musician, because you're singing as an instrument, is she finds some really odd melodies over some very dissonant chords.
Yeah.
And I think Tom York, the reason why I think that's a hot take is because
you mean an HTTHT?
Exactly. Radiohead is not very forthcoming about but why wouldn't Radiohead listen to Rumors? Why wouldn't somebody as gifted a singer as Tom York imitate Stevie Nicks?
I actually love that. I never would have thought to compare the two, but I can totally see
Absolutely.
some shared DNA.
And again, this goes back to my thing. I haven't solved some complex math problem by having an observation, but I do think it's fun because it's they are so withholding and restrained about their inputs. And I don't think it's out of ego. I don't know what it is. But I really hear a lot of Stevie Nicks influencing Tom York singing in this period.
I think it might be, there might be an exercise of ego there.
Yeah.
Not that they claim not to have influences, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't want you thinking about that while you're listening to them.
Yeah. Which, of course.
So what are we hearing now, Zach?
This is a Fantagram song. I'm sorry. No, this is this is Mixomatosis. But I do think that there is a band, Fantagram. It's a 2-piece kind of rock electronic band, and this sounds like a Fantagram song, which is a band that did not even come to existence until 4 years after this album was written and recorded. So, point Radiohead.
Zach, I think this song fucking sucks.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think in comparison to the songs that were oh, is this a sneaky? Punch Up at a Wedding is good. I think this is a decline in quality, but I would still take it over We Suck Young Blood and The Gloaming. I don't think it sucks. I think it's...
This vocal take sounds like a really bored first take.
Yeah.
The riff sounds really stock.
Yeah.
And...
I like this. I think a lot of bands...
I'm really surprised that it's on the album.
I think a lot of bands took from this song profound influence, which is why I was getting out my Fantagram
I
point.
agree. I do think it sounds like a lot of less good bands from 2005, where it's kind of this was really popular in this. I think kind of after this, I think they were ahead of the curve. To mix electronic and rock music was really, really trendy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't hate it as a rule or anything, but this just sounds really uninspired to me.
Yeah. It sounds like they're scatterbrained.
Oh, Zach.
I know.
What are you talking about?
Oh, man. Well, we'll run on fumes just like the band was.
What is next? There's a minute left to this. Can I skip ahead?
Yeah, that's fine. This feels like a Greenwood piece.
Zach, can I tell you something?
Sure.
I love this song.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I like this song a lot too, and it does feel like...
and I did not know it well at all before getting ready for this podcast. This is one that I think is really sneaky, gorgeous. Maybe up there with some of the... I could hear this song on Amnesiac.
Yeah, I could hear this song on a future studio album In Rainbows. In House of Cards mode a little bit.
Sure.
I think the mixing, unlike some of the previous, is really good. Probably just because I'm relieved to hear a guitar so much. But
yes,
it's a restrained guitar, Greenwood type melody.
It's also a dissonant chord progression, but still really pretty.
Yes.
Tom is singing really pretty over these weird chord changes. I also counted each measure, or I'm sorry, each... the progression goes 7 measures each time, which is really cool. Yeah. It's in a standard time signature, but it has that broken meter thing going on.
We got Phil doing some really fun clickety clack.
Yeah,
it is acoustic drums.
Yeah, it's a very restrained song, but I really like it, and it took me several listens for me to start picking out the melody, and it reminds me of In Limbo also.
Oh, big time.
And especially in the end, they do something with his vocals that is kind of a direct lift from In Limbo.
And this is another song that I put in the Stevie Nicks mode a little bit.
Have we even said that this song is called Scatterbrain? Zach referenced it a few minutes ago.
Well, when I made my dumb joke. Like, that's Tom York, but the upcoming drones feel Nixian.
Sure. So I think this song is about the constant bombardment of information that we experience. And, you know, they obviously are directly referencing Orwell in the opening track. There's a quote that I'm not going to be able to do from memory. There's a quote that I won't be able to recite from memory, but a really great Orwell quote about the way a totalitarian society would function. And he says, you would need nonstop information.
Yeah.
Nonstop information coming at you is essential for you to not be able to tell the difference between truth and lies.
Yeah.
Well, 2 minutes of hate? Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he said that in the fucking 50s or whatever is amazing because, you know, it came true.
Yeah.
And God, people on all sides of the political aisle love to invoke Orwell to the point that it's almost like bringing Hitler into an argument. You almost kind of automatically lose if you say something is Orwellian.
Yeah.
But I really think it is eerie how no matter how you get your information, you get it on a constant basis now.
Yes.
You know, doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Right? And it does. It makes it impossible sometimes to sit down and really think out a problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what that song's about. So
Yeah.
I really like
that.
The
Was your
lyrics.
HTTTHT.
Thank you. That was the H'est of T's. Now, what are we listening to?
This is a
Zach?
Johnny Greenwood composition. Tom York using a new style of singing that we
called rap.
Sure. I just mean how he's low and he's not really doing a ton of melodic stuff. He's kind of talking.
Well, and I think you can hear they are digitally manipulating his voice, lowering the pitch. And right here, listen.
I love that part.
So, Tom York, able to make talk singing cool. He pulls it off. I love this song. This is one that in the years that I didn't give Hail to the Thief its full just due, this was always one I would go and listen to.
Yes, yeah.
And I want to give a little shout out to a friend of mine in life and hopefully future friend of the show, Jason Vitlasil, is the person who I don't think I ever paid attention to this song, and he was really into it, and it made me look at this song in a more scrutinized light, and it's just so great.
To me, it feels very influenced by the Beatles song "Because."
Good call
from Abbey Road. Just even the chord changes. So, like in that intro, I love this part. We're never really singing, are we, Walker?
No, he's talking.
I think
I don't know how he does this without making it cringy. He really pulls it off.
Totally. So this style of singing, I'm just going to call it, is present on future album In Rainbows in a song called Jigsaw Falling Into Place, where we're just talking, just as you know what I'm saying, that low bassy.
Oh, sure. Kind of atonal.
Yes, exactly. Now, there is a bit melody here in the chorus.
A very pretty melody after those very disconcerting sounding verses.
This song features Neapolitan 6 chord. We already passed it, but a little interesting trivia. They're very Greenwood-esque composition to use something like that.
And lyrically, we're describing very grim things through that lens of children's stories, right?
Yes.
Wolf at the Door, Three Little Pigs, Little Red Riding Hood. Now, this song could be about more than one thing, but in its most direct sense, it feels to me that it's about an abusive relationship.
Yes.
And somebody using the children in that relationship as leverage over the person that they are abusing.
Yeah. Which its companion would probably be Morning Bell, as you pointed out. I never got that. I guess I did, but and then God, I keep mentioning In Rainbows, but there is a song off In Rainbows that also maybe has the same kind of tone lyrically, right?
House of Cards is about somebody, I think, wanting to have a love affair with somebody who's in a failing relationship, if not an abusive one.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, this is this. It's interesting too because there's a perspective shift. I think, right? Because the lyrics are, what is? Let me back. I promise to be good. Don't look in the mirror. I have the face you won't recognize. Help me call the doctor. Put me inside. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody. I mean, this is dark stuff, but it sounds like that cycle of abuse where the person lashes out in violent behavior and then, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again, is literally getting you to bring the wolf back inside. And then the chorus is from the perspective of a person trying to stop the wolf. I keep the wolf at the door, but he calls me up, calls me on the phone, tells me all the ways he's going to mess me up, steal all my children if I don't pay the ransom.
But there is something weird about
I really
the
like the way it's shifting back and forth.
Yeah, because the chorus is not upbeat or like even from the perspective of somebody who's been like brainwashed. It's still dark and just putting it on Front Street.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like the perspective has shifted, but we do have because the chorus, folks, literally is just an inversion of the chords in the verse. So the opening chord is a D minor. Right. And there's some changes, but it's D minor, G minor to A major, essentially. And then the chorus goes D major, G major, and then we stay on an A major to kind of help us transition back. So it's literally an inversion, musically speaking. And there is something about the lyrical shift that sort of matches that, but we're still staying in that darkness of a person being abused and being told that they will change and, that cycle continuing.
Should we kind of talk how that's the whole album?
Yeah, that's Hell of the Thief.
Should we maybe talk about where it stands for us now?
Yes,
in terms of like our Radiohead fandom?
Yeah.
Would you like to go first or should I?
I would like to let you go first.
Okay. So I feel, I got to say, first of all, I don't love how I'm coming off in this episode. I feel like I am shitting on Radiohead, which is not what I started this podcast to do. But I do just want to say that I listened to this album really hard.
Yeah.
I've listened to this album a lot. And so I just want to say the songs that I love.
Sure.
And I'm using the word love. 2 + 2 = 5. Go to Sleep. There. I Will. Scatterbrain and Wolf at the Door. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of this 14-track album.
Right.
So that's pretty good. And so I really want to have some perspective on that. There is damn near half this album that are songs that I love. So I cannot say that I hate this album. So then the question becomes, can I say that I dislike this album?
Yeah.
And I would also say no. So then, Zach, the question for me has become, where do I put this album in the Radiohead canon? Now, I know which albums I like more. I am positive that I like this album less than, let's go in descending order.
Okay.
I like it less than Amnesiac. I like it less than Kid A.
Right.
I like it less than OK Computer.
Right.
The album that I think it kind of has the most similarity to is OK Computer, I would say. And I like it a lot less than OK Computer.
Okay.
So we're now all the way back to Radiohead's first 2 albums.
Right.
Pablo Honey and The Bends.
Right.
I took, weighing it against their earliest work, felt like such a kind of bold metric to be using, to be like, am I really about to potentially put 2003 Radiohead lower than 1993 Radiohead? So I took it really seriously. So I would listen to this album and the bends back to back, fully through, no skips.
Wow.
I took this seriously.
Yeah, no,
Zach.
totally.
When you put Radiohead on trial, you need to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And I can definitively say that I like the bends better than Hail to the Thief. This is tough because they're there and 2 + 2 = 5. It's way beyond anything they achieved on the bends.
Right.
But the experience of listening to this album as an album is how I'm judging it. And it's really not a fun album to listen to back to back.
It's not the sing-along record.
Well, yes, but like, but neither is Amnesiac, but it really works as an album.
That's true.
And I would listen to, and I don't think that there is anything on the bends. The low light of the bends for me was Tom talking about Jim Morrison and his girlfriend. And that to me is way less of a bummer than when you get to We Suck Young Blood after Where I End and You Begin.
Right.
So then the question, Zach, becomes, do I like this album less than Pablo Honey?
Right.
Now, I will admit I didn't listen to Pablo Honey as diligently in comparing it to this as I did the bends. I did do that a few times where I would listen to Hail to the Thief all the way through, the bends all the way through, and was like, which experience am I enjoying more? I did, though, listen to Hail the Thief all the way through and then listen to Pablo Honey all the way through.
Wow.
One time.
Okay. Still.
I want to be honest.
Yeah.
I did it one time, and I gotta say, about like 4 or 5 tracks into Pablo Honey, I was going, holy shit, am I about to rank Hail to the Thief lower than Pablo goddamn Honey? And then, Zach, I got to that second half and remembered, no, Radiohead had 5 good songs at the time, and they put them all in the first half of this album. So I am happy to report that I would not rank this album lower than Pablo Honey. But it is heretofore my second least favorite album. And that does feel very weird to say even now, because like the highlights are very high, but I honestly wish that they had waited longer, worked on the songs more. And if their attitude at the time was, we just killed ourselves making these other 2, and we don't want to do that, I just wish they had waited instead of rushing this thing out. And you've got to like show artists that you love this much some grace to try new things. But I just don't feel like their heart was in this one. Yeah, I could see that. And even though they are so much better as a band and songwriters than they were on the bends feels like a record that they wanted to make. And there's some moments of really low enthusiasm that I perceive really low enthusiasm from the band on this one. And so that is where I would rank it now.
Wow.
I would love to know, having had this be your favorite Radiohead album at a point, how do you feel about this album now?
I mean, I feel like we were in harmony with one another through a lot of our critiques. But, I would not rank it at the top anymore. Kid A remains my favorite. Okay. Amnesiac remains my second favorite.
And you're only ranking on a scale of albums we've discussed.
Correct. Okay. And so In Rainbows and everything after it is not included in this. Okay. But Kid A remains my new favorite Radiohead album, which, as we discussed, is a really fun turn of fate or, twist. Amnesiac remains my second favorite. This is now my third. I'm not quite sure, like, if I like this more or less than Amnesiac, but I just know it's not my favorite anymore. I feel like, I feel like I've, I was trying to find a synonym for outgrown it, but that just sounds so pretentious because I couldn't have outgrown any of the composition or effort that went in.
But as a fan,
exactly, yes,
no,
yes,
you're being
absolutely.
This is a safe space.
Thank you. Yeah. So I feel like I've outgrown a little bit of it. I think that even like I still maintain the opinion that There is not only the greatest piece of music on this album, but is maybe the greatest piece of Radiohead music ever. Sure. In that last section, which automatically maybe even makes it edge out Amnesiac. So I'm going to have it like be, in the 2 or 3 spot. But even with They're There, I feel like They're There is in a little bit of an attempt to recapture the magic of Paranoid Android. Right?
Okay.
Like it's not a section changey, and it doesn't sound like the same song. Right? But it is such a magic trick of a song that is very unconventional for being a big pop song. And I do feel like there's a little bit of that intentionality. The song, I think it actually sounds like is electioneering.
Interesting.
Which is, I don't want to meander too much as we're trying to close, but I just think that speaks to the point of where Radiohead might have been at mentally. And like, what were the beats that worked? Well, Radiohead, all the beats worked. Mm-hmm. Even the ones that failed initially, or not failed, but in hindsight are not that interesting, like in Pablo Honey. I think that it's a recapitulation of everything they had done with a super, super, super sophisticated talent increase from every single member of the band. Right?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I would rank it. I don't know why I put an Amnesiac above it. I think just because Amnesiac feels like a bold attempt at new styles that don't always work. And I think that Hail to the Thief is just, hey, let's do a bold attempt at new styles that don't always work consciously. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that they took some time off for their mental health. There are things I love about this album. The artwork is outstanding. I think,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Tom's voice is outstanding.
Agreed.
The guitar work and the drums during songs like They're There are incredible. But yeah, there's some swinging and misses on here for sure. And I think that I've listened to it so many times, and this recent go around was with a little bit more of a maturation, in my own sense of self, to where I'm like, it's not the top anymore.
It definitely shouldn't be dismissed, and I kind of hate that after all this time the conclusion I came to is the one that I already had, because I really don't completely trust myself for it not to be confirmation bias. And I don't want the purpose of this podcast to be have contrarian takes, but I definitely as somebody who is purporting to love this band so much that I'm doing a podcast about them, I kind of wish that I was coming to the table with this album is grossly misunderstood.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just think that the moments that really work are the ones that feel from the heart for me. And how can I know which moments are from the heart? The answer is, listeners, I can't. It's based completely on my opinion of which songs I like. But I really did. I'm excited to take a break from this record.
Yeah.
Which is a first for me since Pablo Honey.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to take a break from Radiohead. I'm really excited to get into what they do from here. Mm-hmm. And next week we have a guest, and we're going to see, can we fix Hail to the Thief?
Yeah.
Something that members of the band have tried to do, and seemingly every Radiohead fan on Reddit has tried to do.
Well,
so are we going to be the ones to get it right, is the question.
I'm really looking forward to it, because this person is really knowledgeable about Radiohead, and is not one to object to, I don't imbibe a lot of negativity coming in, but I mean, if they're going to resequence Hail to the Thief, that means they have some sort of objection to it.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm really excited to hear their take as a fellow Radiohead fan and just genuinely nice person. So that's really exciting to me. I do want to just close personally with this. You can say whatever you want after, but this is the first and only Radiohead album now, in hindsight, that in the year of its release is not my favorite album of that year. And Walker, do you know what my favorite album of 2003
Deloused
is?
in the Contamin... Yes. Well, I can never
Deloused
say
in the Comatorium.
Comatorium.
An album that, I mean, I think I tried to preview hey, listen up, listeners. And really, it was only 2 + 2 = 5 where I hear the Mars Volta. But what would Johnny Greenwood be listening to besides experimental rock from a band that are deeply non-commercial, have outstanding artwork, and hurt your ears a little bit to listen to it first.
Right.
And I don't think
still have mainstream success.
Yes, and have immense mainstream success, and are surprised by it. And that, I'm not doing some parallel here, listeners. They are distinctly their own bands. But I said it before, and on the Amnesiac episode, I think this is the only album where you hear influence going in both directions. And that is a compliment to the Mars Volta, who may have never even heard of Radiohead or vice versa, although I deeply doubt it. I think both bands are at the level to where the respect could go each direction. And I also think it shows kind of where Radiohead might have been at. And this could have been a point at which they fall off a cliff, and they don't, which is really, really awesome.
I think that's well said. And I mean, I do agree with you. I think that Deloused is a more successfully executed vision than this.
Yeah.
It's apples and oranges to some extent, but I
to some extent.
I see both things are fruit, are they not, Zach?
Yes.
And also, if you look at the cover of Freakonomics, sometimes the inside of an apple is an orange. I can't believe that is the last thing I'm going to say on this podcast. But listeners, we really appreciate you sticking with us on this journey. I also want to say, too, if our opinions about Hail to the Thief annoy the heck out of you, this is something I really would love to engage with Radiohead fans about.
Yes.
And that's part of why we are not leaving this album right now. Zach has made me appreciate things about this album that I didn't as much, with how into it he is. I anticipate our guest will make me re-examine things on this album that I didn't. And I really, really welcome that feedback from the listeners and fans. This thing got in my head, and I don't think I'm done with it yet.
Yeah.
Because that is how much I admire what Radiohead does, is that even their misses require further examination. I'm ready to put this one to bed for a little while, but I'm not done with this album, and I think I need to buy a new vinyl copy of it that has both goddamn LPs, because I don't need to hear Backdrifts twice. I need to hear They're There once.
Yes. No, I couldn't have said it better, although my vinyl copy is intact, so I guess I would say it a little differently.
What the hell?
No, I just, it's been a really fun experience, and I'm just so grateful to Radiohead that the misfires, again, don't make me cringe outside of We Suck Young Blood. And I even found things without searching very hard to point out that I like about that song.
Sure.
So I am grateful that the band never veered into the U2 or Muse or what have you territory. That's what I would like to close with for the second time.
Yeah, the taste level is high.
Yes.
They would have to, man, they would have to really surprise me to do something that was, for them to have a, what's the U2 song, the Sexy Boots?
Get on your boots.
Yeah. They have not had a get on your boots moment yet, and we'll see if they do in the future, listeners. We have other albums to discuss.
Yeah, but I do think it's really cool because we've already previewed that. We're going to talk about The Eraser. I've mentioned In Rainbows and tried to do a decent job of not going in depth on it. I do think it's really cool, though, that they recognized that they needed a break, that they were at a point in their career where they could take a break. That's obviously a luxury. And I'm really glad that they did because, like I said, I think that this could have been a tipping point. Also a Malcolm Gladwell book. And from my estimation, it wasn't.
With that, we will see you next week when we get into alternates, B-sides, resequencing, the stuff Radiohead nerds like ourselves love. Listeners, my name is Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. And thanks for listening to